Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it's time for the Gameweek 28 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. An interesting episode because it is of course a blank game week and a lot of people are considering selling various blanking players, various non-blanking players and buying them as well. So loads going on at the moment. It's going to be a bit of a weird game week, we all know that. But if you do enjoy this content, please do leave a like and please do subscribe if you're new around here as well and you want more FPL content on your screens. So buys are players you probably don't have right now but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. And therefore guys, we're going to put 2 players in each category. This video is always a little bit controversial so we're going to have a little bit of fun with it but I do hope you enjoy it nonetheless. Let's start off with some buys. So our first buy is going to be Ollie Watkins. I think he is transfer target number 1 for this game week just because of this insane run of 3 game weeks, I suppose, between now and after the international break with a double game week and beyond as well. So Bournemouth at home, the worst defence in the Premier League at the moment. So this is the perfect opportunity for a player who is already scoring so many goals. Watkins cannot stop scoring at the moment. He's been doing it so well. And as you can see on screen, guys, it's not like he is massively overperforming or anything like that. He is genuinely getting an insane amount of chances to score because this Aston Villa team is built around him so much more than ever before. And Watkins is showing something that he's never really showed before in his career, and that's clinical finishing, which has been really impressive. So Watkins, the clinical man with these insane fixtures against Bournemouth at home. We've got a double game week against Chelsea and Leicester. That Leicester fixture in particular looks pretty nice, even if he doesn't get anything against Chelsea. And then on the other side of that, we've got Nottingham Forest as well. So really nice here. If Watkins is going to continue his streak, you would expect him to score against these kind of teams. They are arguably easier games than he has been playing previously. So it just seems like one of those transfers that just is such a slam dunk transfer. So obvious that you should buy Watkins that I just think we all should do it, really. So all in all, Watkins, an absolute definite buy. One I'm pretty confident in, one that I will be doing myself, and therefore have to recommend him to all of you guys as well. Ollie Watkins, it's his season. It's his season. Our next buy is going to be Ben Chilwell. So he is another player who I think is really high on our priority list. The kind of players we want to be buying in right now. And it's kind of been shown that he's also super popular among most FPL managers anyway. I think everyone agrees by now that Chilwell is a very decent pick. We've been looking at him pretty closely over the last couple of weeks, whether that's been in Europe or what. Chelsea have been playing with a 5 at the back, which means Chilwell is playing super duper advanced on the left-hand side, even higher up than Reece James. And I know people will be saying, what about Reece James? It's Chilwell. Honestly, right now, it seems to be Chilwell's time. He is playing more advanced. He is being more creative. He's taking more shots on. He just seems to be the guy right now. And although his underlying numbers you see on screen right now, guys, 5 shots, 7 key passes in the last 5 games, that seems pretty good, but not amazing. It does seem like his numbers are kind of taking an upwards trajectory. He seems to be getting more and more involved with each game as he is playing in those slightly more advanced positions compared to where he was a couple of games ago. So we are going to see an even more improvement from Chilwell. All of his numbers really have come in the last couple of games, which included a goal and an assist as well. Can he get more of those attacking returns? I think definitely. Everton at home is a really good opportunity for a clean sheet. Chelsea already, we know, are one of the top defences in the league. Struggling for goals a little bit recently, but look, still a strong defence. And that Everton team is a team that can't really score many goals. So therefore, seems really obvious to go for a Chelsea defender ahead of Gameweek 28. The Gameweek 29 situation is pretty good as well. We've got a couple of okay fixtures. Aston Villa and Liverpool. Not the best fixtures in the world for a defender necessarily, but I guess it could be worse. So I still think there's a good opportunity for some attacking returns there in particular because Aston Villa, Liverpool have been weaker defences over the course of the season. And then after that, straight back in with another easy defensive fixture in Wolves. So nice, again, a nice little run of games here for Ben Chilwell. Considering his numbers already, I think that he could get even better, and I think there's clean sheets in here as well. I think he's definitely a player I'll be looking to buy. Right, Erling Haaland, I'm going to put straight in the sell category. Yes, I'm doing the cardinal sin of FPL and suggesting to sell Erling Haaland. And I know, we all know what happened early on in the season when I didn't have Haaland in my team, but things are different right now because he doesn't even have a fixture. Now, I should, before I go any further, tell you guys that I am probably singling out Erling Haaland when I shouldn't. Really, what I mean by this section is that we should be selling probably all of our Man City players, to be fair, because we've got a blank in 28, no double in 29, and even that Southampton game is a little bit mid anyway. And then beyond that, yes, 31 is pretty decent for Erling Haaland, but in game week 32, there's a really high chance that Man City do actually blank in game week 32 as well. And we'll find out that after we see if they beat Burnley in the FA Cup. If they do win their FA Cup game, that is going to mean that they blank in game week 32 as well, which means over a 5 game week period, all of our Man City players are going to have 3 games in 5 game weeks in the same kind of time frame where a lot of other teams are playing, you know, 6 games. So other players, other forwards, you know, if you're switching to Ollie Watkins, for example, Ollie Watkins is going to have, you know, significantly more games. He's going to have 6 games in a period where Haaland only plays 3 games, which is, you know, I know we love Erling Haaland, we do, but Ollie Watkins in double the amount of games is probably going to be a little bit better. So therefore, it makes sense for a switch. To be fair, Haaland would be the last Man City player I would sell. I would prioritise selling my other Man City players first. I would sell De Bruyne. I would sell Mahrez. I would probably sell those defenders as well, who have been a little bit pesky over the last month or so, haven't they? But still, if Erling Haaland is your final Man City player that you have in your team, I would actually be okay with selling him. For the first time this season, excluding when he's been injured, I think we have got to a point where, yes, he's a fantastic player to own. We definitely will want to get him back. But I think it's okay to sell him. And I just wanted to come out here on this video and say, if you are thinking about selling him, I back it. I genuinely back it. I think it's okay considering the very specific circumstance that we find ourselves in. Now, one little caveat here is that if you are free hitting in game week 28, then you're not going to sell Erling Haaland. If you're free hitting in game week 29, you probably don't want to sell Erling Haaland in that case either. You probably should keep him if you're free hitting in 29. If you're free hitting in 32, there is less of a desire to sell Erling Haaland. You know, you could more afford to keep him, but I still would think about selling him. And more to the point, if you do sell him, make sure you can get him back. A lot of you guys are going to have a lot of money tied up in him if you bought him at 11.5 million. I know that's not going to be all of you. A lot of people sold him when he got injured, for example. But if you did buy him at 11.5 and you are going to kind of struggle in many ways to get him back into your team, then just be aware of that. If you sell Erling Haaland, make sure you have a plan to easily get him back into your team, because we do not want this to be a permanent thing. This is a short-term risk based on quantity of fixtures that in theory should pay off. Like mathematically it should pay off. If you look at the algorithms and stuff, they all say it should work. If we trust the robots or not is another question, another debate entirely, but it's only a short-term plan and I would not be looking to end the season without Erling Haaland. So make sure you've got that plan to get the man back. Next sell is going to be Darwin Nunez, and once again I am maybe being harsh on Darwin, and what I really mean is all Liverpool players except from maybe Salah. I would maybe consider keeping Salah if I had no other issues to contend with, I guess. But really I would be looking to sell most Liverpool players, even though they do have a double in game week 29, so they're not as much of a priority sell as, you know, your Man City players. I still do think, just because this double game week in 29 is so difficult for Liverpool, Man City away, Chelsea away, it doesn't really look good, does it? After that, we've got Arsenal at home, still, again, not a good fixture. Then Leeds away. Leeds have been really, really doing much better defensively recently as well. So the likes of Darwin Nunez, the likes of Cody Gakpo, particularly if you consider that maybe there'll be a little bit of rotation there, maybe it's just time to just get rid of them for a period of time and maybe think about bringing them back in later on in the season. It just does not seem like the right time to own Liverpool players in general, really. So yeah, would be considering selling, not because of the performances or anything like that. Look, they were unlucky against Bournemouth. That's not going to happen every game week, just like the Man United score before that was not going to happen every game week. A couple of freak results, whatever. But I think we just need to look at this objectively and look at these fixtures and say, I think there's probably better value elsewhere, because Liverpool players, remember, are quite expensive as well. So Darwin would be looking to sell. Now, out of all of the blanking players in Game Week 28, my number one keep would be Rashford, and that's why I'm putting him in the keep section here, because you don't have to sell everyone who blanks, right? So you are going to be keeping at least one player that blanks, right? Surely you're going to be keeping at least one player who blanks and just stick them on your bench. It's not like we're trying to play the bench boost in Game Week 28, is it? I hope not. Anyway, so yeah, if you've got to keep one guy, why not make it Rashford? Firstly, the midfielders in Game Week 28, I don't think there's that much out there. You know, there's not that many great midfield options. I like the forward options in Game Week 28. I like the defender options in Game Week 28. Don't really like the midfielders. So I think it's okay to bench midfielders. I definitely think it's okay to bench those midfield slots, if you will. If you're going to do that, Rashford should be one of those players. And that's because he is going to be your future captain option. Which means you're going to want to be bringing him back pretty much as soon as you sold him. If you sell him in Game Week 28, you're going to want to buy him back in Game Week 29. He's got one of the better double game weeks. There's no amazing double game weeks in Game Week 29, don't get me wrong, but Newcastle away, Brentford at home, it could be a lot worse. Rashford is a serious potential captain option for Game Week 29. I think a lot of people will be looking to captain him in that game week. And then beyond that, Game Week 30, again, potential captain option. Game Week 31, Rashford looks like the captain option for Game Week 31 as well. So really, even if you sell him right now, you're going to have to buy him back again. That's going to cost you 2 transfers. Is there a way that you can maybe remove another player who you're not necessarily going to bring straight back in again? That's kind of the kind of transfer I'd be looking to do. A lot of your players are going to blank. Just sell the ones that you don't necessarily want to keep, or at least you have an option of not keeping them. Even if you think you're going to bring them back anyway after the blank, still try and think of players that, you know, there's a chance that you could leave them out. I just feel like Rashford, there's just no chance that anyone is leaving him out beyond Game Week 29. Like, especially when Man United start getting those double game weeks beyond that as well. It's going to look really, really good. So Rashford, therefore, is going to be a keep for me. Captain option, cheap still, great player, great numbers, amazing. And I'm going to put Martin Erdogan as the next keep as well. So out of all of the players with fixtures in Game Week 28, Erdogan is actually the most sold out of all of them, which I find quite bizarre, really, because I don't think he is, like, one of the worst picks, really, at all. Like, he's not a bad pick. Does anyone really think he's a bad pick? I certainly don't. I mean, look, there are some really nice numbers behind Martin Erdogan at the moment, and although numbers only tell us so much, I do just want to detail them anyway. So, this is a really interesting fact about Martin Erdogan. So, over the past 5 game weeks, yes, Arsenal have played slightly more fixtures, but over the last 5 game weeks, nobody has taken more shots than Martin Erdogan. Not a single other player in the Premier League. So that's pretty impressive. He takes a lot of shots indeed, particularly from outside the box. He does seem to be one of those quantity shooting players, and he is a good long-range shooter as well. So he does occasionally get those goals from all of those long-range shots that he takes. But here's an it makes this even more amazing as a fact. Not only has Erdogan taken the most shots of any player over the past 5 game weeks, he has also made the most key passes of any player in the Premier League over the past 5 game weeks. And it's not just like he's done it by a little bit. He's like quite out there in front as the highest shot volume player and key pass volume. Like, he is just number 1 in both of those statistics. So therefore, you're always going to have a chance with him. You know, if he's doing it that often, you are always going to have a chance. You're always going to have a shot, to use a pun there, I suppose. So therefore, why are we selling him? Why is we selling him? He's reliable. We know he's nailed on, which we can't say the same thing about a lot of the other Arsenal attackers right now. You know, he's the captain of the club. You know, he's playing every game. He's got a good fixture against Crystal Palace. It's a really nice fixture. So why are people selling Martin Erdogan? I would like to know from some of you guys. Maybe some of you guys can enlighten me a little bit. But it just seems like in a situation with Game Week 28 where we really do have much bigger issues to deal with, a lot of people are going to struggle to even get 9 or 10 players for Game Week 28. Some people will be relying on free hits and wildcards to get themselves out of a bit of a jam. And many other of us will just be trying to just use our transfers to get a full 11. If you already have Erdogan, who are you switching him to? I would definitely not make a sideways transfer to Martinelli or Trossard right now. So that's surely not happening. I don't know where you go from Erdogan to who. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah. Let me know, guys, why are people selling Erdogan? No, just don't. Keep him. And from one Arsenal man to another, we're going to go for Trossard next, who is going to be an avoid, which is always controversial to tell, you know, to go out in a video and say, avoid a player who has just scored a buttload of FPL points. But hey, this is what we do in the Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid series. We do not shy away from the controversial takes, and we do like to give the other side of the story. I always say this, an avoid is not necessarily me saying this is a bad player. It's sometimes just me saying, all right, I know a lot of you guys are thinking about him. Let me just try and present a different argument, and then you can make your decision based on that information. So this is my Trossard avoid argument, and the basic of it all is Trossard is now super rotation risk because Gabriel Jesus played minutes in Game Week 27, which means someone's got to miss out. Martinelli's been in great form right now. We know how good Martinelli was playing alongside Gabriel Jesus as well. And although you may say, well, you know, Jesus might not be quite ready to start a game in Game Week 28. Maybe it's going to be after the international break in 29 when Jesus starts. Well, I mean, you still have a player who is going to be being substituted off early. We know Trossard is not going to play a full 90 minutes, or we have a good idea. And then beyond that, Game Week 29, he just becomes like ridiculous rotation risk, because I do still think that Martinelli is going to be slightly preferred to Trossard. Don't think there's going to be much in it. I think they will be sharing minutes to a degree, but it's going to be Martinelli ahead of Trossard, generally speaking, and we've kind of already seen that. And I think Trossard has played very well, but has he? But the problem is Martinelli has also played very well, so it's not a case of, you know, Trossard has earned his place in the team necessarily, because there's not really been anyone to drop out, and we know Gabriel Jesus, when fit, is going to be starting the majority of games for Arsenal, if not all games for Arsenal. So therefore, even if he doesn't cause you a problem now, he will cause you a problem in Game Week 29, 30, 31 and beyond. He is going to be a player you bring in now, you're going to have to transfer out later. And although I do acknowledge that there is a chance he starts in 28, plays against Crystal Palace and does pretty well, still, I just don't think it's worth it as a risk. I think I'd rather go for some other players. And one more final note, and I don't really like this argument so much, but he has been massively overperforming as well. You look at these numbers, 1 goal, 5 assists, that's 6 attacking returns in the last 5 game weeks. He's done that from an XG of 0.74 and an XA of just 2. So even the best players in the world do not continue that consistently. Those over-performances suggest to me that this is not going to happen every single game week. We're not going to get those mega scores every single game week. So therefore, again, Trossard is going to be an avoid. But as always, really interested to hear your thoughts on this controversial avoid. And our final avoid of the video is Enzo Fernandez. So Enzo Fernandez has a good fixture against Everton. He plays a nice double game week in 29. He plays for Chelsea, who have seemed to have turned a corner a little bit, looking a little bit better. What's not to love? Well, the numbers are the things not to love, really. The problem with Enzo is he just doesn't really suit FPL as a game. I definitely admire him as a football player, but he just doesn't really suit it. Yes, he's got a couple of assists recently, but he's not really actually creating that much. You can see on screen, guys, 3 key passes in 5 games. Yes, he does occasionally put in that wonder ball, like those really nice little balls into the box, which are really nice and really they're nice to look at. They're really nice to look at, but it's not happening frequently enough to justify going for him. So really poor underlying numbers, but that's what you expect from a 5 million midfielder. Now, the difference between previous seasons and and this season, I guess, is that this season there is so many genuinely good attacking midfielders who are in the 4.5 to 5.5 price range. Enzo is not one of those players. You know, we've got a lot of players, you know, the Brighton midfielders, for example, Andreas Pereira, Billing at Bournemouth, he's looking pretty good at the moment. There's just loads of different players. I can go on and on about all of the better options at the 5 million price point, I suppose. But I'm not going to do that today, because at the end of the day, I just don't think we should be making midfield transfers at the moment. I know people are, for some reason, desperate to replace their midfielders that they have for players who have fixtures in 28 and also have fixtures in 29. But let me tell you, the best midfielders who have the best Game Week 29 fixtures and beyond blank in Game Week 28. So it really just does seem like a situation where we've just got to take the L on that one and just, you know, bench those midfielders and maybe focus our transfers elsewhere. But let's conclude that with a summary. So in summary, guys, yes, we do want to be selling players who don't have fixtures in Game Week 28 and hopefully buying in players that, one, have fixtures in Game Week 28, but also have doubles in 29 as well. And midfielders don't really, a lot of midfielders don't really fit those categories. So I would be focusing transfers on the defenders and the forwards positions right now. There's a lot of forwards that we could potentially remove right now for some other really good forwards that are looking really good at the moment. Think Watkins, maybe taking a punt on Isak at Newcastle. Don't mind find him as a shout. You know, even the Chelsea forwards, Kai Havertz, maybe João Felix, maybe he's a player that you could potentially go for as well. And obviously loads of defenders, you know, Kieran Trippier from Newcastle, maybe going for Chilwell or maybe Reece James if you do want to take a punt the other way. There's just loads of different options there in terms of defenders and forwards, but not really so much in midfield. So yeah, bench those midfielders. Don't be afraid to do it. And yeah, let's see what we can do in the defenders and forwards categories, because that's kind of where my focus seems to be. All of the numbers, all of the research seems to be taking me towards that conclusion. So there you go. There's your summary. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy, please do drop a like. It really does help out the channel. And do subscribe if you are new around here as well. Plenty more FPL content to come this week. We're going to try and help you out in this difficult blank game week to navigate with free hit drafts, wildcard drafts, and everything in between. But aside from that, guys, thank you once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.